Hey everybody, welcome to the Orange Grove 55 show with my dear friend and collaborator, Mr. VashSky Dre, host of Freshly Squeezed. How you doing today, brother?
Doing pretty good. You know, it's been a busy couple of days, but glad to be here. Glad to be, settled in for the live program. This is quite good. I'm enjoying myself here, so should be fun.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about. We got a lot to dive into here today. We got the price increases that were announced yesterday. The trams are coming back. The I would say like a temporary suspension of the Dream Key.
Yeah, I would characterize it that way too.
Temporary suspension. We'll see. Maybe even a reimagining. I don't know. We want to go down that conspiratorial route. We can start to do that too.
Well, it's pretty obvious the system is broken, but we'll see. We'll get into it. But also, you got cast member staffing, and then you have maybe a certain famous nighttime parade coming back. There's yeah, exactly, right? There's so much to get into. It should be a really fun show.
Absolutely. And everyone's coming into the chat. Thank you for joining us. Brand, cool. Samuel Ann, Grant J, Crystal Ray. Thank you all for joining us today. So where should we start? Should we start with the trams? Because that seems to be the less juicy of all of them. So maybe we can get that out of the way first.
It's so interconnected, though. Yeah, we can talk about the trams. We can talk about the trams. That'll be a good segue into some of the other topics here. Okay. So, yes, about the trams. OG, what do you got for us?
Well, the trams, according to Disney, officially are coming back sometime in early 2022. Okay. So this is interesting because we were told by a lot of sources or YouTubers or whatever that the trams were completely unfixable. Yeah. Not so much apparently. Apparently they're fixable enough that they're going to come back in early 2022. But I mean, unless it's a whole new fleet, which I would be shocked if that was the case.
No, I think the source for this is the Orange County Register, and even they said a couple paragraphs down that it was just some maintenance that had to be done. It wasn't a huge deal, but I think they were putting that maintenance off until they had the staff to actually, utilize them. So I think that was the bigger concern here. It always was, right? We heard these they're such in poor state, and they gotta take the fueling station, move it here. And yes, that could have been true. Maybe a little over-exaggerated. I think the real problem was staffing. It always was staffing. And that really, that goes into a lot of the problems that we're seeing at the Disneyland Resort today.
Yeah, absolutely. And Samuel Ann says here in the chat, the surveys have spoken and Disney has listened. I think Samuel Ann's actually onto something with that. Yeah. I think the trams were eventually going to come back. I don't think they were planning on keeping them away forever. Yeah. But I do think that the outrage online, social media, and the attention. I think OC Register had an article about the trams not being there and what have you.
They did.
I think that put a lot of pressure on Disney to sort of expedite the return of the trams. I don't think they were initially planning to have them back in January, February of next year. I think they wanted to kind of kick that can down the road, but I think the public pressure was just too much. And we all know Chapek's a data guy, and he saw the data, and the people want the trams, so you got to bring them back.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I mean, he says data driven, and it's like, well, our guest satisfaction scores are higher than ever. It's like, okay, all right. Thanks for a little bit of the gaslighting there, but yeah. So I do think that had something to do with it. I think, look at the announcement, right? It came to the OC Register. You didn't get a lot of hard facts with that. Just early 2022, just to kind of placate everyone and say they are in fact coming back, which brings us to kind of the next discussion, which is kind of interrelated, right? They bring back the trams. Interesting when they raise the price of a few things, including parking. So why don't we go ahead and get into that one?
Let's do it. Let's get into it. And is that you sent me a graphic? Is that related to what we're talking about right now? Should I bring that up? Or can we wait on that
Yeah,
one?
I mean, well, it's just some old slides that we had from one of our previous shows, just kind of showing like the kind of rate of price increases historically. We've had this kind of conversation before. You can bring it up.
Okay.
They've gone up, right? I think it's kind of inevitable that the price of entry into the Disney Resort or at Walt Disney World, it's going to go up. And look, this one is it's really difficult to swallow, right? There are so many things that are just simply just not there. They've and I've said this before and I'll say it again. They've charged more than they ever have for less than we've ever received historically, right? Well, the color's still not up, Fantasmic's still not up, a lot of the entertainment's still not there, and yet they're increasing prices. And this is why I kind of put out a tweet like timing is everything, right? It's just it's this one was a bitter one to swallow for a lot of fans, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you could also make the argument though, in terms of charging more charging more for receiving less than ever before. I think you're right. I mean, in terms of entertainment, but I mean, in terms of the park itself, I mean, the park has never been. We just added 14 acres with Star Wars Land. Yeah,
and they were closed for 412 days or whatever. Yeah, I get all that. I understand, right? And I think the thing that kind of tripped them up a little bit is just how it was handled.
Yeah.
It should have been really couched in a, hey, we're constantly reevaluating our experiences and the value which we give, and here's some great things that are going to be on the way, right? Announce some kind of seasons for when these things might be returning, which, by the way, are consistent with what we're hearing, rumor wise, right?
Right.
The trams are returning early 2022. Magic Happens is, returning sometime similarly. Fantasmic might be on the way for summer. World of Color might be on the way for fall. Kind of announce those things, and as part of that, say, as a result, we have to increase these prices.
Right.
They increased the trams to $30, right? I'm sorry, not the trams. The parking to $30 from $25 without the trams. And that was like, whoa, that was a slap in the face to a lot of people. And then you saw the OC Register come out and say, oh, the trams are returning. And it was like, okay, well, you could have made that kind of part of your announcement, right? As part of the, not as part, but with the trams returning, here's a higher rate for parking. And I think that would have been, that would have handled it better, I think. But go ahead, OG. What do you have to say?
Yeah, the PR, the way it was handled, could have been better. I completely agree. It's tough. It's tough because Disney is in a real tough position. I made a video on this yesterday about how there's really no, I don't really know the solution to this, and I wish there was a solution, but it's a delicate tightrope, because if you lower the prices too much and it becomes too affordable, then you have the crowding issues, and then it's you fall on one side of the trap or the other. It's you make it too affordable, there's too many people. You make it too expensive, then you're pricing families out. It's a real delicate song and dance that Disney has to kind of do with this stuff. And I don't envy them at all. And managing this demand, because no other park in California has the demand that Disneyland does. No other park.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but I don't know.
And they're a very vocal contingent of fans. They they like their voices to be heard, especially when things aren't going the way that they might envision it going. So like you said, it is a delicate tightrope. I will say, wasn't that the point of the reservation system, though?
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
That's the bag of goods that we were sold, and what? Now you're increasing prices to because of demand, but don't you have this kind of artificial cap or limiter that you can set? It's very strange.
You're right. Yeah, I haven't been to the park since we went together. That was like mid-September.
Yeah. Same.
But from what I understand, I mean, the parks are pretty busy right now. So you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, like there doesn't seem to be much of a cap in regards to that attendance. You're paying high prices. You're paying for parking, but you're still going to the park, and it's still really, really crowded. And you're right. The reservation system was supposed to mitigate that.
Well,
it doesn't seem to be mitigating it too much, right?
Well, it's creating that indie effect that now they're kind of profiting from, right? They're kind of like, we're going to have this artificial scarcity, put enhanced demand, and then charge more. It's like, I don't like it. It makes me feel dirty. It doesn't make me. It's a screwed up situation. I think they, and we can kind of dive into a little bit of the other announcement that the Dream Key sold out.
Yeah.
Look, I think this has all been kind of bumbled this whole way through. Again, they created this system that placed enhanced emphasis on reservations itself. Now they're all kind of gathered up, and they continue to be gathered up, and without any of those mitigating kind of systems in place that we talked about on previous shows. I think this will continually happen. And now you have this reservation system to control how many people can access these parks, and should, theoretically, you should be able to sell as many passes as you'd like with those artificial caps being in place. But now you're seeing kind of other people kind of on the outside looking into these things, and now we're going to shut down. The sales of these tickets. I don't know. It's just. This wasn't handled well.
Yeah, I think with the putting the pause on the Dream Key, I think that's really largely because of the kind of the outrage. Because it was the Dream Key members that were really upset, because you're paying $1,400 a month, $1,400 a year, and those people are being the most impacted in regards to the reservations or the lack thereof, right? So I think Disney is really, instead of allowing more people to get funneled into that Dream Key program, they figured it's best to sort of cut bait for now, pause it. Don't allow any more in, because you don't want to exacerbate the problem. And then they can kind of reevaluate. What they should do is the Dream Key, for $1,400, the Dream Key should have its own bucket of reservations, apart from the other Magic Keys. If you're paying $1,400 a year, you should have your own bucket, and it should be more readily available. You're paying an arm and a leg for that pass. You should definitely get a little bit more of a priority when it comes to reservations. It doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like the Dream Key is kind of mixed in with all the other passes. So what's the incentive of spending $1,400 on something when the far cheaper passes, you're in the same boat with them, right? It makes no sense.
That is one way of looking at it. It's weird because in the reservation system, like when you look at available reservations, it's separated by key, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. I was watching for the first time, actually, and I'm actually a new fan of Provost Pass.
Yeah, Provost Park Fest. Yeah, met him in the park. Man. That was awesome.
I know you've been a fan of his for a while. I've never seen his stuff, and I checked him out last night, and I was like, "Oh man, this guy's great, man. He's high energy. He's like Bill Nye / like Jim Cramer, Mad Money. It was dope. I was enjoying him, but he was saying in his video like how, from what he understands, that all the keys are in one bucket. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird because the representation is that it would be separate buckets, but then they treat it all as one effectively. And there's also some behind the scenes finagling. I've heard that people with larger parties, all connected to one account, are able to secure reservations easier than somebody that's maybe by themselves or with just maybe somebody else. So there's some kind of that kind of hankery going on. I mean, they're pulling levers all over the place. I will say, the transparency has been questionable, and honestly, they might want to start looking at this a little bit more closely than they have been historically. Because I mean, you're you're talking some class action territory if you really aren't careful, simply because they're not being transparent with the methodology in which people can secure reservations and so forth, and what kind of algorithms that they're placing on this.
And it's interesting too, because from what I understand, the single day tickets have their own bucket compared to that of the Magic Keys. And from what I understand, Disney is prioritizing those single day tickets over the Magic Keys. So this is So this is kind of a new. Annual pass holders used to kind of run the land, right?
Yeah.
Like King of the Roost, they were kind of the ones that kind of ran the show. It doesn't appear like that's the case anymore, at least with the reservations. Disney's putting a much more of an emphasis on those single day tickets and kind of putting the annual pass holders or the Magic Keys kind of on the back burner. That's interesting, Well,
I believe it was Brady McDonald from the OC Register himself, and one of his articles that actually mentioned that specifically, that they were, kind of rebalancing this equation, which we kind of knew was happening, but now we're starting to really see the effects of it. And obviously, annual pass holders are going to feel a little bit differently than people. Look, I can tell you right now, from a ticket holder going, we were annual pass holders for a long, long time until it became just economically unfeasible. So we started, buying individual tickets. And I can tell you, I mean, it did feel like you were, you're paying the most, and yet your prioritization level was a little bit skewed, right? And I think Disney understands that. I think they want to rebalance that equation, which is fine. At the same time, though, somebody's going to be left on the outside. With the way they've handled this and so forth, it just wasn't the best way to go about it. I understand having the reservation system and wanting to have that system in place to control that annual pass holder population, obviously, right? But I think the system itself is flawed. And I think they'll always encounter these kind of problems going forward if they don't really kind of rethink the system that they've kind of developed for themselves. It's just the ease of accessibility combined with the ease of making a reservation, squatting, and all that. I think it will always create these problems.
Yeah, it's tough. It's funny, kind of like in our entertainment sphere, whether it's watching movies or whether it's going to theme parks, like as nerds, our world has been totally turned upside down. Like everything is different now. Like whether you're going to Disneyland now with this whole new reservation Magic Key thing, or whether you're watching content, movies from big studios, now there's that whole day and date thing, and just everything just seems to kind of have like this upheaval. We're going through a huge seismic shift in entertainment, and it's wild. It's absolutely wild. I do believe the dust will settle and things will normalize, and there will be a standard for all this stuff. But in the meantime, it's going to be Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. We're just going to be like, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. And Disney's going to have to test and adjust a lot of this like park stuff, like with the reservations and how many tourists, how many single day tickets, how many Magic Keys. And it's going to be a lot of growing pains, a lot of heat on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, look, I feel bad because there are some people that they're doing, that they're learning this whole new system on, like, they're we're experiencing these growing pains, and unfortunately, it's on some people's dimes, and that's kind of that's unfortunate. Look, you can do it on someone else's time. Thank you very much. While you're going through this process, but I will say one of the more frustrating aspects about this is that there's no institutional memory. Some of these things are predictable. Some of these things are like, okay, this is why you don't do this kind of thing, and I just wish. On behalf of Disneyland Resort and for the Walt Disney World Resort, that some of that, when you do something, find out why it hadn't been done before, like take that into account. Take into account, the lessons that were learned before making new decisions. I that's the only thing I would ask for personally.
No, absolutely. And I would want the same thing. And I want Disney to look back. Especially at the time that DCA was being built and things like that, when Michael Eisner really went on the cheap when it came to California Adventure. I want JPEG to look at that. I want Tomorrow to look at that and go, you spent more money having to fix that park than you would have spent if you just would have built it right in the first place. remember that when you build your next land. Remember that when you build your next park. It's always more expensive to go back in and fix it. Just do it right from the get-go, and you'll actually save money. And I hope, like you said, there's that institutional memory for these executives to kind of take that stuff into account going forward, whether it be with building new parks, building new lands, or systems, or operational stuff. You got to remember the mistakes of the past. And a lot of times they don't. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of this stuff is like deja vu. My God, it's crazy.
It's sometimes it's really frustrating. I mean, you know, we've DM'd, and you've seen some of my my recent complaints and how I've voiced my opinion on some of this stuff. I like to take the rational view. I like to, kind of see it from both sides. But man, it's very, very frustrating to see them make the same mistakes as they did before. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, it gets a little bit better. Yeah,
we'll see. Hopefully, things kind of shake themselves out. But let's go into some of these comments.
Yeah.
Dedicate the last half of the show with the viewer comments. We got some great ones.
Oh, I think so.
We got some great ones. So I'm going to go down here. First one, Samueland. MSEP Heart. So for those of you that don't know, the Main Street Electrical Parade is coming back to Disneyland. Disney, and this is official, Disney teased it on Instagram. I don't personally have an Instagram. It was shared to me, but it's coming, y'all. It's coming. So
it's coming.
For me personally, I have a personal connection to this parade. My late grandmother used to love the Main Street Electrical Parade, so it means the world to me. And I know a lot of fans they're kind of tired of it. It's kind of a janky, like, old-fashioned parade, and I get that. But for me personally, I just have that connection. I'll always welcome this parade with open arms, and plus, it's entertainment at the park.
I know.
I mean, we're thirsty for entertainment right now, so bring it on. But are you? I mean, what are your thoughts, Dre, on the electrical parade coming back? I mean, are you kind of like cool with it? Are you kind of disappointed that Paint the Night isn't the one coming back? Or
I mean, out of the two parades, I mean, I do have a fondness for Paint the Night. that is a great parade. I wish, because it's in storage right now, I just wish they would bust it out and play Paint the Night at DCA, play Main Street Electrical Parade at Disneyland, or some kind of, or vice versa, or something. It's just like, I'd love to have Paint the Night back in some form, but we obviously, and we had a kind of DM discussion this morning about kind of the issues surrounding that parade, and I don't think that I don't think they're much interested in kind of overcoming those issues and bringing back entertainment at this time. It's just kind of a volatile time. But look, Main Street Electrical Parade, I love it. Like, I dig it. It still gives me the feels to hear that great symphonic Moog score down Main Street. It gets all the emotions running. But I will say, it's quite interesting. Because Mice Chat was talking about it coming back for the kind of the winter season, like a few months ago, and it was like, if they're bringing that back and the Christmas parade, it was like, are they doing the parties? And is this parade going to be played in, for those people who might not get access to the parties, or for if you don't have a ticket for the parties, is the Christmas parade going to be exclusive to those kind of thing, right? And then this is this is kind of to offset that. Surprisingly, no. Surprisingly, these things might be playing concurrently, or depending on when Main Street Electrical Parade comes back, maybe the start of January or something like that, to pump those numbers up. I don't know. We haven't been given solid dates on this, but that was kind of my thinking initially. But it's coming back, and the Christmas parade will play for both party guests and non. So there you go.
Yeah, and shout out to Mice Chat. They got that scoop 100% correct, right in 100%. Time for the holidays. So Mice Chat, in all honesty, Mice Chat has historically had some really solid sources.
Their weekly update online. I know it's kind of a blast from the past, right? Weekly trip reports or whatever. Right. Honestly, it is worth going through, folks. Just take a little time out of your Monday, go through it, and you'll be coached up on a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah, well, and their Dateline Disney updates are phenomenal. I know Andy Castro does gorgeous, gorgeous pictures, best out there.
Fantastic.
In regards to the parks, and I highly suggest you check out the Dateline Disney updates because the pictures, oh my god, they're beautiful.
They're phenomenal.
Absolutely.
They're phenomenal.
So we have here our next comment. It says Crystal Ray today. Thank you, Crystal. Says Disney doesn't like that bad press. No, they don't, Crystal. No, they do not. And the tram thing was drama online. So I think they definitely. I think they buckled. I think they caved on that. I really don't think that they were really planning on getting those trams up and running as soon as next year. They wanted to extend that as long as they could, and I think that they were just kind of forced into it.
They were definitely forced into an announcement, into saying something about it, I think. Because whether or not the timeline is consistent with where they wanted it to be, the kind of secondhand, OC register announcement coming back, early 2022, I think they didn't have that quite ready, and they just want to get ahead of the story.
Absolutely. And Grant J says, "What's up, OG55 and Vash? What's up, Grant J?
Yeah.
What's up?" And Bran writes, "Is the Mickey van coming back too? Do you know what I'm talking about?" I honestly don't know, Bran, what you're talking. Vash, are you familiar with the Mickey van?
I was trying to theorize what this could be in reference to, because when you say Mickey van, there's kind of like three things that at least a couple of things that I think of. One is you have the minivans at Walt Disney World. I know that fleet is, that's been sold off or whatever. So that's not coming back as far as I know. And then there's a kind of a Mickey van. I think there was wasn't there like a disability service that could take just disabled guests and transport them to the parks, or was there something like that? I seem to remember something like that.
I vaguely remember that too. I don't know what the name of that service was, but maybe it was Mickey Van. I'm not really sure, Bran. I mean, if you can kind of elaborate a little bit in the chat, maybe we can come back to that one.
And then there's another one like the Club 33 service. That's are you familiar with that at all?
The Club 33 service in terms of
wasn't there one where it was like, if you're a Club 33 member, to get you from the Grand Californian exclusive parking to the park, wasn't there like a transportation service for that as well?
I don't recall that. I do know 33 members do get hotel valet. I don't know. I don't remember. I do know that's part of their thing, but I don't know if I don't remember that transportation service though. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I burnt my toast, says Third Gate, F the world. Yeah, man. I agree with you on that one. I burnt the toast. Bring a third Westcott, baby. Let's do it. Come on.
I know.
And Vash, your idea with the people movers and all that, like, let's do that. Let's do Westcott in the Toy Story lot with a vast system of people movers.
Yeah.
Come on, Chapek. Open that wallet, buddy. Open that wallet.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Let's get it paid out. Let's see. Well, it's right here.
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
Spare no expense. Let's do it. Yeah, I wish.
And Samuelan writes, people don't want a third gate. Well, I do, Samuelan. I don't know. I do. But hey, they want Disneyland. There just isn't enough Disneyland to go around. Yeah, I mean, look, Disneyland will always be the main draw. Even if you were to build Westcott, it's always going to be about Disney. It's a Disneyland show. It's always going to be Disneyland. Just like in Florida, it's kind of like it's the Magic Kingdom show. I mean, you can
a little bit, yeah.
It's always the Castle Park that sort of is the main draw, and the other ones are sort of the secondary stuff. But I don't know.
Well, Magic Kingdom is really weird because they kind of know it's the main draw, which is why they invest in so many of the other parks first. Magic Kingdom's getting Tron, like what? That's the first big new ride since Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and before then I think it was Splash Mountain. So I mean, that's kind of that's how it all goes down. It's a Disneyland show, like you said.
It's a Disneyland show, but I would still like a third park, and I think it would actually help with the crowding issues. Because I think if you can get more people to that third park, swallow up more of those crowds, I think Disneyland and DCA would benefit from that in terms of crowding, at least.
Yeah, and somebody was saying on Twitter, I believe it was a tweet to you, but I still saw it. It was, like parks can get too big. They can get a little bit too
Yes, I did see
unsizable.
that.
It's and too unwieldy. I think there's something to be said about that.
Right, I agree.
And I think it's the perception of value when you're actually like planning a vacation to like visit and fly down to somewhere. It's like, okay, 3 parks versus two versus 4. That definitely, like you've said, OG, that definitely becomes part of the discussion.
Well, that was the reason why. Part of the discussion when they were building DCA or when they were deciding on Westcott or DCA, or part of that debate internally was, should we just expand Disneyland?
Yeah.
And the reason why they chose to build a second gate is because of that psychology of like, well, no, if you have one big Disneyland, like mentally, people feel like they can do that in one day. No matter, even if it's 1,000 acres, it's still one park. People feel like I can do one park in one day. Where if you have multiple parks, psychologically, it feels more undoable in one day. And what happens when you feel like you can't do something in one day? You stay at a hotel, and that brings more business for the Grand Cali and Disneyland Hotel and what have you. So there's definitely a psychological aspect to it. That you add a third park and the hotel business would do buco business.
And that conversation, by the way, of making like that came up in like 2005, 6, 7, and when they were like, okay, when they kind of broke down and said we need to fix DCA, how can we fix it? One of the ideas was just like, oh, let's just make it one big Disneyland. Let's just make it one big park. And yes, it hurt the value. It hurt the valuation conversation there as well. And I will say, historically, it hasn't always worked. Think about that big, like 700-acre theme park, and like I think it was Ohio when Six Flags like acquired near the next door SeaWorld, and they made a mega park, and that is no longer around, folks. So clearly there's some thought process behind this.
Absolutely. And Grant J says DCA needs a berm behind Pixar Pier. Grant J, you are absolutely correct.
Absolutely, 100%.
One of the dumbest decisions, Grant, that Eisner or his administration or whatever you want to call it, that era made, was to have a roller coaster that you can literally see through as the acting berm for the park. It makes no sense. At least if Disney can sort of build like a fake, like rock wall or something behind it, please. I mean, it still irks me when I'm waiting in line for the Little Mermaid and I look over across the bay and I can see all the hotels and the convention center.
Yeah, you can see the Hilton right there.
Right there. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's a Hilton. Is that the new hotel, by the way?
The new hotel.
What's that one called?
The Anaheim. Man, I point this out. Like I pointed that to George. I'm like, that's a new hotel. I don't remember what it is. Maybe someone in the chat could help us. But it was the Anaheim Hotel or something like that.
Right.
They redid it, and now it's this big new complex.
Like Wyndham or something, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's something like that.
Could be. Yeah.
Now that hotel. I feel like that hotel company worked with Disney in regards to the aesthetics, because if you look at the roofing, it reminds me so much of the Little Mermaid roofing.
It sure does.
It's very, very, very kind of Paradise Pier, Pixar Pier energy. So it doesn't bother me that much with that one, but the convention center, that big like Space Mountain dome and all that. Come on, they got to do something with that. That's just crazy.
You got like the the glass of the Hilton right there, and it's like it's a lot. It's a lot. Oh yeah, it is the Westin is what Rudy was saying. Oh, our boy Rudio's in the chat. Hey, Rudio! What's going on? See, he helped us out right there. We appreciate it, Rudio. We do think about you.
Oh, we love you, Rudio. We love you, brother. And Crystal Ray today writes, Provost has great content. Yes, he does. I told you, like, I'm a new fan of his. I just checked him out last night, and he's great. Like I said, he's like Jim Cramer, Mad Money / Bill Nye and / Disney Park nerd. He's awesome. I subscribe. I love his content.
Yeah, if you check my Twitter history, there was I took a photo with him, and he shouted at the channel and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. Super nice guy. So glad to see he's getting the love.
Absolutely. And Sam Chat, I'm so glad you can join us today, Sam. Actually, Sam missed our last live stream. And he messaged me on YouTube, when's the next time you guys are going to do a live show? And I told him, and I'm glad you can join us, Sam. And thanks for the shout out. And thank you for telling us the name of that, the Westin. And our boy Rudio, it's the Westin.
Rudio,
right in front of the Avengers campus logo. That's pretty dope. Pretty dope. Let me see. So I'm kind of going through the chat. Let me see here. So, here we go. Our buddy Tyler, Wraith Kelso, MSEP, the parade that continually gets retired, only to come back in a few years. You know what I'd prefer? Paint the Night. Yeah, I think Tyler, I think a lot of people would prefer Paint the Night. Yeah. But I think that's kind of off the table because from what I understand, Paint the Night caused a lot of workers' comp claims for Disney. A lot of cast members got hurt with that parade. I don't think Disney is... Whatever was hurting people in that parade, I guess it's probably an expensive fix because we've never seen it again. I don't think we ever will, to be honest with you. I really don't.
I think we will. I mean, there's a reason those floats are still around. There's a reason that they store it the way they do. I just think like they got to address the worker comp issues, like you said. Also, too, I heard that the costumes and some of the things in that parade were very expensive to maintain. So I think they want to kind of iron those things out. I think there is a world we see it. It's just not going to be for a while.
Going to be a while. And Craig Rethorn writes, we are not getting what we paid for. You want more, then give us value, not cut and raise. You will pay for the same dumb mistakes over and over again. Hey, Craig, you're not alone, buddy. I mean, a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people feel that they're not getting what they paid for. You know, so look, the issue too is I think a lot of it is too like Disney and the fans kind of want their cake and eat it too. The fans want no crowds, cheap passes, unlimited access, you know, and Disney wants, hey, we want to charge you, but we want to limit you. We want to nickel and dime you. Both sides kind of want it all. And I just think that it's really, I think that really what's going to happen, I think we're going to have to kind of live in the gray area. I think we're going to just have to live in the gray area. Disney's going to have to make some sacrifices. And I think the fans are going to have to make a little bit of a sacrifice as well. I think there's no real magic bullet for this, unfortunately, you know?
Yeah, well, I get it. I do. It's just, I think what our commenter here is talking about, you know, is like it just doesn't feel right when you're charged more, and it's like, man, you know, there's not a lot there that you're paying for, right? The valuation is definitely skewed. It's a tough situation right now. I just wish that Disney would kind of like, you know, like at least make the attempt to infuse as much valuation as you know as possible, you know, for such a high price and such a high cost of entry. It's just like I said before, it's just a very difficult pill to swallow right now.
Yeah, no, it's expensive. I mean, it's expensive. Like you pay for those Dream Keys are $1,400 a year. That's not cheap. That's not cheap. Let's go here to Sammyland. And Sammyland says they should never try to pass, quote, cheap carnival as an immersive environment. Yeah, I mean, Sammyland, you're right. I mean, I agree and I disagree with Sammyland. I mean, I think that there should be some place for a kind of seaside pier environment at a park themed to California. I think it's appropriate. I do. I think that is a big part of California. But the execution, Sammyland, you're absolutely correct. It wasn't executed
cheap.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest execution. And Eisner dropped the ball on that one. They kind of like tried to fix it with Bob Iger. They were successful to some degree. And then the Chapek came in as park chief and sort of made kind of a bigger mess with the Pixar thing. And that was partly Lasseter as well. I know he pushed for Pixar Pier. Just that whole area, I feel like Disney doesn't have like a clear focus. They need to like pick an architecture, pick a time period and go with it. You know, you can have your IP there, just like you do with Toy Story on Midway Mania, but at least have the aesthetics and the overall energy, the same consistent thing all the way through. And Pixar Pier failed completely on that. I mean, it's just you got mid-century Incredicoaster with, you know, Jesse's country western carousel.
Oh, but
I
but
mean,
OG, they're distinct neighborhoods, don't you know?
Oh yes, oh yes, they're neighborhoods. Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that water wall just kind of keeps it all back, and now we're entering a new neighborhood, and it's completely fine. That part didn't quite work out.
It didn't. And look, I wish that someone would get in there and really just give this whole pier a real cohesive feel to it. Give it like I believe our buddy Grant and Jay said, give a proper, you know, berm behind the coasters. We can hide some of the outside world. I don't think it would really take too much to just kind of like make this area a really immersive, fun part of California Adventure. I just feel like for whatever reason, Disney does not want to put a dime into it. I don't know why.
I think for the Paradise Pier Hotel, I think it's just that thing is on the chopping block just generally. So it's one of those things where it's like, let's not spend good money after bad. But that might actually be the case with maybe Paradise Pier in a Pixar Pier in some regards. Maybe it's like, hey, let's infuse it with cash to make it, you know, to spruce up the offerings as they exist today. But maybe there might be bigger future plans down the line. That's the only thing I can really speculate on. Or either it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, look, there are bigger fish to fry when it comes to Disneyland, when it comes to Disney California Adventure specifically. You know, Hollywood land area, like that's that needs to be shored up for sure.
Absolutely. And here's the thing: if Disney's watching, if anyone from Disney is watching, the pier is a total potential moneymaker, right? Like they saw how much money like those dining packages made for World of Color when you added that great show. Mm-hmm. If you can make that whole pier, the whole Bay Area more welcoming and more immersive and where people want to go, there's a lot of, I hate to say it, but a lot of upcharge possibilities there with the water and the fountain shows and all that you can do there. I just feel like they're leaving good money on the table. I mean, they really are by leaving it so cheap, and there's so much potential there that they're leaving on the table. So much potential, you know. Like,
what if you could make a real themed environment with the kind of you know, oceanfront setting, so to speak, that you've constructed for yourself, and then, you know, monetize that through dining and stuff like that. I mean, that'd be fantastic. It's, you know, they just haven't done it, and I think it speaks to our last commenter who was like, well, you know, you're paying so much for what you're getting. You know, I think one of the things I wanted to say on that I forgot about that I just remembered was people are still paying. So that's why they keep charging, right. You know, and As soon as we stop, you know, that now the equation becomes a little bit different. And look, people are finding out, like Disney Cruises, for example. You know, I know, what is it? Who is it? It was Peter and Kitra, Ordinary Adventures. Are on that cruise right now, and they're seeing what kind of spruce offerings. What kind of offerings that they have, and how it's just not a lot compared to some of the competitions. So, hey, look, you know, as I think people are starting to wake up to that. Now it's time to act on it. So that's what I'll say.
No, absolutely, and look, Disney will react to the money. That's how you vote. It doesn't really matter. And me and you, Dre, have said this so many times. But like, if you complain on Twitter, you scream into the wind about how terrible the parks are, then you're going and buying the product, nothing's going to change. Look, let's take Star Wars, for example. It wasn't until Solo, a Star Wars story, flopped that Disney decided they were going to kind of readdress how they release Star Wars movies. Yeah. Right? A lot of fans were complaining about Star Wars before Solo. They didn't do anything about it. It wasn't until Solo flopped that Disney and Bob Iger were like, "Oh, okay. Well, we'll go ahead and now we'll you know, we went too fast. We're going to go ahead and pump the brakes a little bit, right?" Same thing with the parks. The minute the stuff stops selling is the minute they're going to start to readjust the way they do business. But unfortunately, the park, I don't know, the Disney parks fans, they love to complain, but they're the first ones in that queue looking at that big thunder goat.
Yeah, I know.
5
Getting
hour
those
queue
passes,
looking at
right?
a big thunder goat, and it's like, well, okay. I mean, if you're not willing to not spend the money, then it's just going to be the same thing all the way. They're just never going to stop because you're endorsing them.
The incentive for the incentive is just not there for Disney to change course. So why?
Why?
That's the hard reality.
Right. Exactly. Why would they? If they're still making money over hand over fist, the complaints on Twitter are kind of moot. People they see it as like, well, okay, but you're still giving us your money. I mean, it can't be that bad, right? You know. So it's rough. It's rough. And our buddy Rankin the Mouse, Sean, check out his YouTube channel, by the way. He is awesome. I love Sean. He's a friend of the channel. He says OG55 live. Let's go.
Let's go.
He's awesome. So we got one more comment, then we got to head out.
Yeah, we got a hard out, unfortunately.
We got a hard out.
I do apologize, guys. Trust me, we would be here all day if we could.
Yes, I'm actually on my lunch break for work, so I don't want to get in trouble.
Oh, you gotta get back. You gotta get back.
I gotta go back. But our good friend Sammy Land here mentions, if you can bulldoze Pixar Pier, but keep the water, what kind of land would you like to see? I've mentioned this before on this channel. I want to see like an American waterfront, like Disney Sea.
Yeah,
Bob Chapek wouldn't like me running the parks because I'd be asking for all kinds of shit. He'd be mad. He'd be like, what's that going to cost me, huh? I want that. I want the American waterfronts right there. We can have World of Color still, but I want that kind of immersive themed environment in an ideal world, Sammy. In an ideal world. What do you say, Dre?
Oh, yeah. You can go with something like that. Maybe Mediterranean Harbor from Tokyo Disney Sea. Maybe, there are so many different locations, different ideas that you can put there. I mean, even going like maybe with something with a little bit of a Spanish influence or Mexican influence, and then you can kind of blend into like maybe something for Coco. There's so much you can do there. It's all about just money, resources, and time. So we'll see.
Yep, exactly. And Sammyland just donated $1 to the channel. Thank you so much for contributing to the channel, Sammyland. I do appreciate it so much. We all appreciate it. That was very kind of you. Thank you so much. And we're gonna go ahead and close this out today. We're gonna be doing more live shows though. I really want to do. We talked about it, Dre, and I think our buddy George is on board. We want to do like like a live show about those Disneyland Forever like documents that came out, like the 80+ pages.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm still going through them. That was huge. By the way, folks, all of this news came out, and that right there is probably going to be the biggest, most consequential thing in the Disneyland Resort history. I mean, it didn't even make it to the show. That tells you how much is going on right now. It's packed.
Oh, it's wild. So we're going to get George on that one. And we're going to talk about that because there's a lot going on there in terms of like Disney asking the city of Anaheim to like not kind of like expand certain roads around the area. Disney's pushing they're pushing their weight around.
A little bit. Yeah. We all kind of wondered how that was going to go. Like, this connects here. This connects here. How do you think, how are you going to accomplish that? And, well, that's out. a little bit of political, a little bit of money going around, a little bit of, influence going around.
Absolutely. So it'll be very, very interesting. So I want to thank everybody today for coming in, Ranking the Mouse, Sammy Land, Grant J, Bran, Rudio, our buddy Rudio, Sam Chat, Crystal Ray, just everybody that joined us today. It was a lot of fun. We're gonna be doing a lot more of these live shows. We both, me and Dre, we love doing these.
Oh yeah,
you guys bring so much to the table, so it's a lot of fun. So we'll be doing more, and we definitely want to do that Disneyland Forward show with George, and we got a lot to dive into with that one. But thank you all so much for watching. And we got one more. We got Rudio, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, brother. I do appreciate it. Always love and support for your boys. Don't tell the mouse I'm in a Zoom meeting right now. Yes, we won't tell them. We won't tell them, Rudio.
Lips
Thank you, brother.
are sealed.
Thank you, brother. That means the world to us. Thank you so much, sir. We got to have you back on, brother. Whenever you're available, let's do it. Let's do it.
Should we have Bill O'Reilly take us out?
let's take us out.
We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Oh
Great.
man,
It's absolutely great. It's total. It's such live stream energy. I just love it.
I do love it. It kind of keeps us a little bit edgier. Yeah, it wakes up the crowd a little bit. I like it.
It's great. Well, thank you, Dre, brother. I always appreciate you coming on, man. I do appreciate it. If you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Real quick. At VashSky on Twitter. Came up just right now. That's where you can find me. And then where you can see me, I'm at your channel, OrangeGirl55, at Freshly Squeezed, your source for juicy news and info, squeezed fresh right from the grove. That's where you can find me.
Perfect. Thank you all for watching, and we'll be on again with another live stream soon. I'll keep you guys in the loop. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, guys.